The kind of place where the lights were soft, the music was slow, and the smell of freshly grilled steak mixed with laughter and wine. The waiter, a young man in his late 20s, was moving from table to table with his usual calm smile. He had worked there for almost 3 years, and most of the regular customers knew him by face, if not by name. He wasn't rich, but he was proud of his job. Every night, he tried to make people's dining experience special. He had a warm and patient way of talking that made customers feel at ease. Even when someone was rude or demanding, he never lost his cool. His coworkers admired him for that. Behind that polite smile, though, life wasn't easy. His mother had been sick for months, and her medical bills kept piling up. Most of his paycheck went straight to hospital fees and medication. He barely kept enough for rent and food, but he never complained. He always said, "It could be worse. I still have a job and she's still here." That evening, he clocked in a few minutes early. The restaurant was already half full. He fixed his tie, grabbed his notepad, and started taking orders. The smell of roasted garlic and butter floated from the kitchen, and glasses clinked softly across the room. Everything felt normal, until he noticed a man sitting alone near the corner table. The man wore a plain black cap pulled low over his eyes, a simple gray jacket and jeans. Nothing about him stood out, but there was something quietly confident in the way he sat. Calm, focused, almost like he was watching the world without needing to be seen. The waiter walked up with his usual friendly tone. "Good evening, sir. Welcome. Can I get you something to drink while you look at the menu?" The man smiled slightly. "Just water, thank you." His voice was calm, polite. The waiter nodded and returned with a glass of water. Throughout the meal, the man kept things simple. He ordered a steak, medium rare, and a side of vegetables. He didn't talk much, just thanked the waiter each time he came by. He ate slowly, occasionally typing something on his phone or staring out the window. There was something familiar about him, but the waiter couldn't quite place it. At one point, the restaurant manager came by to whisper something to another table, and the waiter caught a glimpse of the man again. There was a faint sense of recognition, maybe from a magazine cover or a headline he'd seen online. But he shook it off. Celebrities came into the restaurant all the time, and it wasn't his place to pry. After finishing his meal, the man called for the check. The waiter handed him the bill, thanked him again, and went to serve another table. When he came back, the man was gone. The plate was empty, the glass half full, and under the receipt sat something that made the waiter's heart skip a beat. A tip. Not just a regular tip, it was a stack of $100 bills. He blinked, counted them again just to be sure. It was $10,000. For a second, he thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe the man had pulled out the wrong amount. Maybe he meant to leave $100, not $10,000. His hands trembled slightly as he picked it up. The man hadn't written any note, just signed the check with a short signature that looked oddly familiar. He turned to his coworker. "Hey, does this look right to you?" The coworker's eyes widened. "Whoa, that can't be real. Did someone actually leave that for you?" "I don't know," he whispered. "He said I had great energy, that's all." They both stood there for a moment, unsure what to do. In restaurants like this, there were strict rules about large tips. Anything over a certain amount had to be reported to management first. But he also didn't want to insult the customer by refusing their generosity. After a few moments of hesitation, he decided to do the right thing. He took the tip to the manager's office. "Sir," he said carefully, "one of my tables just left this. I think it might be a mistake, but I wanted to show you before doing anything." The manager, a tall man with sharp glasses and a constant frown, stared at the money. "Who left it?" The waiter described the man. The hat, the jacket, the quiet tone. The manager frowned deeper. "You're saying he left $10,000? Are you sure it wasn't fake?" "I don't think so. It looked real. I didn't even touch it until I showed you." The manager said nothing for a long moment. Then he told him to go back to work while he looked into it. The waiter nodded and went back to the dining area, still shaken. The rest of the night felt longer than usual. Every time he passed that corner table, he kept wondering who the man really was and whether that tip was real. When his shift ended, he went to clock out, but the manager called him back. "About that tip," the manager said flatly. "I checked the transaction. The customer paid with a card and signed for the meal. The cash must have been brought separately." You shouldn't have accepted it, the waiter frowned. But sir, I didn't take it. I gave it straight to you. I know, the manager replied, but our policy is clear. Any amount over $200 has to be split among staff or returned to the guest. We don't even know if that money was real. He wanted to argue, but he knew it wouldn't change anything. He left that night with a heavy heart, thinking maybe the man had simply made a mistake or that the restaurant would sort it out. When he returned the next day for his shift, everything seemed normal at first. But just before lunch, he was called into the office again. The manager sat there with a cold expression. We reviewed the cameras, he said. After the guest left, you picked up the money and put it in your pocket. The waiter's heart pounded. I did that to bring it here to show you. The manager shook his head. We can't take that chance. You know how this looks. I'm sorry, but we have to let you go. It felt like the air had been punched out of him. He tried to explain again, that he'd never take something that wasn't his, that he'd done the right thing. But it didn't matter. The decision was made. He left the restaurant with his apron folded under his arm, staring at the ground. The street outside was bright and noisy, but everything felt distant. He thought about his mother's medicine, the rent due next week, and the months of hard work he'd put into a job that was gone in a moment. That night, sitting in his small apartment, he couldn't sleep. His mind replayed everything. The man's calm face, the generous tip, the way he said, "You've got great energy." He felt confused, angry, and helpless all at once. He didn't know it yet, but that moment, that unfair, painful moment, was just the beginning of something far bigger than he could imagine. Because somewhere across town, the man in the cap had noticed something too. He'd seen the way the waiter had treated him, not as someone rich or famous, but as just another person. And while the waiter sat in silence that night, wondering what he'd done to deserve such bad luck, that same man was already making a call that would change his life forever. The morning after losing his job, the waiter woke up to the sound of his phone buzzing. For a moment, he hoped it was the restaurant calling to say there had been some mistake. Maybe they had checked the cameras again and realized he was telling the truth. But when he looked at the screen, it was only a message from the phone company reminding him of his overdue bill. He sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. The small apartment felt colder than usual. The walls were quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. He had always believed that if you did the right thing, things would eventually work out. But that morning, that belief felt weak. He took a deep breath and checked his wallet. There was barely enough for groceries. Rent was due in 4 days, and his mother's medication needed refilling. For a long moment, he just sat there, unsure what to do next. Eventually, he decided to go see his mother. She lived in a small nursing facility a few miles away. The place wasn't fancy, but it was clean, and the nurses treated her kindly. He usually stopped by before work to bring her favorite tea or flowers from the market. When he arrived, his mother noticed his quiet mood right away. "You look tired," she said softly. "Rough day?" He tried to smile. "Just a little problem at work, that's all." She looked at him for a moment, then shook her head. "You don't have to pretend with me." He hesitated, then finally told her everything, about the man in the cap, the big tip, and how the manager accused him of stealing. She listened without interrupting, holding his hand. When he finished, she sighed. "You did the right thing. I'm proud of you. Don't let someone's unfairness make you doubt your honesty." Her words comforted him, but only a little. Pride didn't pay bills. Still, he forced a smile. "I'll figure something out," he said. That night, he decided to post his story online. Not to complain, but to get it off his chest. He wrote a simple message on a social platform where people often shared their daily struggles. He explained what had happened, how a kind stranger had left a huge tip, how he had reported it, and how the next day he was fired for stealing. He didn't mention the restaurant's name. He didn't insult anyone. He just ended the post with, "Sometimes doing the right thing feels like a mistake, but I still believe kindness matters." He put his phone down and went to sleep. When he woke up the next morning, his phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Dozens of messages, then hundreds. His post had exploded overnight. Thousands of people were sharing it. Some offered words of support. Others said they had faced similar injustice at work. The cap, the jacket, the quiet attitude sounded a lot like Elon Musk. At first, he laughed at the idea. Why would one of the richest men in the world eat alone at a quiet restaurant like that? But as the day went on, more comments mentioned it. People compared the handwriting on the signature in the photo he had shared to Musk's public signatures. By afternoon, reporters were messaging him. He ignored them at first, but the notifications kept coming. Someone had even tagged Elon Musk in the post. He turned off his phone and sat in silence. It all felt unreal. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted his job back, or at least for people to understand he hadn't done anything wrong. Later that evening, he got a call from one of his old co-workers. "Hey," she said, her voice full of excitement. "You won't believe this. The restaurant's all over the news." "They're trying to explain themselves. Everyone's talking about you." He opened his laptop and saw it for himself. News sites had picked up the story. Waiter fired for taking tip left by Elon Musk. Internet outraged. The restaurant had released a short statement saying they were reviewing the situation, but people weren't buying it. The comments were full of angry messages calling for justice. He didn't know whether to be happy or terrified. He hadn't asked for this attention, and now his name was everywhere. That night, he finally turned his phone back on and froze when he saw a new message at the top of his screen. It was from an account verified with a small blue check mark. "Hi, this is Elon. I read your story. Can you DM me?" For a full minute, he just stared at it. He thought it was a joke or a fake account. But when he clicked, it was real. The same account with millions of followers. His hands shook as he typed back, "Hi, sir. Thank you for reaching out. I didn't expect you to see this." A few minutes later, another message came. "You served me that night. You were kind and professional. I left the tip because I appreciated your attitude. I'm sorry for what happened. Can we talk?" He didn't know what to say. It was really him, the man in the cap. Elon Musk. The same person the internet had guessed. They exchanged a few more messages, and Musk asked for his number. Moments later, his phone rang. "Hey," said a calm, familiar voice. "You probably didn't expect this, huh?" The waiter could barely speak. "No, sir. I really didn't," Musk chuckled lightly. "I remember you. You didn't treat me any different. I could tell you were genuine. I left that tip because I wanted to do something kind, not get someone in trouble. I'm sorry they fired you." The waiter felt his eyes sting. "I really appreciate that, sir. I didn't want to cause any problem. I just wanted to do the right thing." Musk was quiet for a moment, then said, "You did exactly that. Sometimes the world doesn't reward honesty right away, but it's noticed." They talked for a few more minutes. Musk said his assistant would reach out soon. He didn't say why, only that he wanted to make things right. When the call ended, the waiter sat in stunned silence. It was like a dream he didn't want to wake up from. He called his mother to tell her what happened. When she answered, he could hear the smile in her voice even before she spoke. "I told you," she said softly. "The truth always comes back to you." That night, for the first time in days, he slept peacefully. The next morning, his phone rang again, this time from a private number. A woman introduced herself as Elon Musk's assistant. "Mr. Musk would like to meet you in person," she said. "Are you available tomorrow?" He could barely find the words. "Yes, of course, yes." She gave him the address, a private office in Los Angeles. She told him to bring an ID, nothing else. When the call ended, he sat quietly, trying to process it all. Just a few days ago, he had been cleaning tables and worrying about rent. Now he was about to meet one of the most famous people in the world. He didn't tell anyone except his mother. The next day, he dressed carefully, not in anything fancy, just clean and neat. On his way to the office, his heart raced the whole time. He rehearsed what to say, but nothing felt right. When he arrived, the assistant greeted him warmly and led him into a quiet room. A few minutes later, the same man from the restaurant walked in. The same calm face, same gentle smile. Only this time there was no cap. "Good to see you again," Musk said, shaking his hand. The waiter smiled nervously. "You too, sir. I still can't believe this is happening." They both sat down. Musk asked him to tell his side of the story again, and he listened carefully, nodding from time to time. When he finished, Musk leaned back. "You handled it better than most people would. You could have pocketed that money quietly and no one would have known, but you didn't. That says a lot." The waiter lowered his eyes, feeling both proud and emotional. "Thank you, sir. I just tried to do what was right." Musk smiled. "And that's exactly why I wanted to meet you." He didn't explain further yet. He simply said he admired how the waiter had handled everything with dignity. honesty and grace, and even after losing his job. Before leaving, Musk told him he'd be in touch again soon. As the waiter walked out of the building, he felt lighter than he had in weeks. He didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time since everything started, he felt hope again. He didn't realize that what was coming next would not just restore his job. It would change his life completely. The next few days went by slowly, but they were filled with a kind of nervous excitement. The waiter kept thinking about the meeting with Elon Musk. He replayed every moment in his head, the handshake, the calm smile, the words that still echoed, "You did the right thing." He couldn't tell anyone except his mother. The assistant had asked him to keep everything private for now, so he went about his days quietly, looking for new job openings online and trying to stay patient. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something big was coming. 3 days later, he received another call from the same assistant. Her tone was cheerful. "Mr. Musk asked me to let you know he has a proposal for you," she said. "Can you come to his office again tomorrow morning?" "Of course," he said immediately, his voice shaking slightly. That night he could barely sleep. His mind ran wild with questions. What kind of proposal? Was it a new job? Maybe a recommendation letter? Or just a kind gesture to help him get back on his feet? He didn't expect anything big. All he wanted was a fair chance to work again, to earn an honest living without being judged unfairly. The next morning, he got up early, put on his best shirt, and made his way to the same office. The building was modern and quiet, with tall glass walls that reflected the morning sun. The assistant greeted him with a smile. "He's expecting you," she said, leading him into a meeting room. When Musk entered, he looked relaxed as always, dressed simply but confident. He shook his hand again and said, "Good to see you." "Thank you for having me, sir," the waiter replied softly. Musk motioned for him to sit. "I've been thinking about your situation," he began. "You lost your job because you did the right thing. That shouldn't happen. People like you, honest, hardworking, you're exactly the kind of person every company needs." The waiter felt a lump in his throat but didn't interrupt. Musk continued, "I have a position I think you'd be perfect for. It's a customer experience role at one of my companies. It's about helping people, listening, solving problems, making sure they're treated with respect. That's what you already do naturally." The waiter blinked in disbelief. "Are you serious, sir?" Musk smiled. "Completely. I've already spoken to HR. If you're interested, we can start the process right away." For a few seconds, he couldn't find words. His eyes burned as he tried to hold back tears. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Thank you. I never thought something like this could happen to me." Musk nodded kindly. "You earned it. The internet may have brought attention to your story, but your honesty is what made it worth remembering. Sometimes the world just needs to see that doing good still matters." They spent the next hour going over details. The new job came with a stable salary, health insurance, and training. It wasn't glamorous, but it was life-changing. For the first time in years, he wouldn't have to worry about bills or his mother's medicine. When he left the office that day, the world outside looked different. The city noise didn't bother him anymore. The sun felt warmer. For the first time in a long time, he felt seen, truly seen. That evening, he went to visit his mother again. When she saw his face, she immediately knew something good had happened. "You got good news, didn't you?" she asked, smiling. He laughed, a sound full of relief. "Better than I ever imagined." He told her everything. She listened with tears in her eyes. "You see," she said softly, "when you keep your heart clean, blessings find their way back." The next few weeks were busy. He started his training, learned new systems, and met his team. Everyone was kind and supportive. His story had spread far, and many coworkers already knew who he was. Some would quietly walk up and say things like, "You deserve this, man," or "You give people hope." It felt strange but beautiful. He was finally part of something bigger, something that valued people for who they were. One afternoon, while on his lunch break, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from an unknown number. "Hey, just saw your story on the news. You're inspiring. Never lose that smile." But because people found hope in it. Major news outlets had picked it up, calling it the waiter who got fired and then got a second chance. People all over the world were talking about how kindness could change a life. Some said they left bigger tips because of it. Others said they treated service workers better. He didn't see himself as a hero. He was just a man who did what felt right. But knowing that his story touched people's hearts made all the struggle worth it. One weekend, Musk invited him to a company event. It was a small gathering for employees and their families. He hesitated at first. He wasn't used to being around such important people. But Musk personally insisted. When he arrived, he was surprised by how relaxed everyone was. Musk greeted him warmly and even introduced him to a few executives. "This is the guy I told you about," Musk said proudly. "The one who reminded me that integrity still exists." Everyone clapped politely and the waiter felt his cheeks flush. He wasn't used to praise. He just smiled humbly and said, "Thank you, sir. I just tried to do my job right." Musk laughed. "That's exactly why you're here." Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Musk pulled him aside. "You know," he said, "sometimes the world needs to see stories like yours. Not because of the money or fame, but because it reminds people that kindness still matters. Would you be okay if we shared your story officially? It could inspire a lot of others." The waiter thought for a moment and nodded. "If it helps someone, I'd be honored." Within days, Musk's team posted the story on social media, a simple, respectful summary of what had happened. It wasn't dramatic or exaggerated. It was about honesty, kindness, and second chances. The post exploded. Millions liked and shared it. People wrote comments saying it gave them faith in humanity again. And through it all, the waiter stayed humble. He kept showing up to work early, greeting everyone with the same smile and helping wherever he could. The only difference now was that people noticed. One day his manager, a kind woman in her 40s, called him into her office. "You've been doing amazing work," she said. "Mr. Musk personally mentioned you in a meeting yesterday. We're promoting you to a team leader position." He blinked, speechless. "Really?" She nodded. "You've earned it." He thanked her, holding back tears. When he walked out of the office, his co-workers cheered quietly, clapping him on the back. That night, he called his mother again. When she heard the news, she cried softly. "I always told you," she said, "when you walk in truth, you don't have to chase success. It chases you," he smiled. "You were right again, Mom." Weeks turned into months and life slowly became peaceful. The internet eventually moved on to new stories, but his life had changed forever. He wasn't rich, but he was stable, respected, and happy. Sometimes he still thought about that night at the restaurant. The man in the cap, the tip, the unfair firing. It all seemed so far away now, but he never forgot it. He learned that life has strange ways of turning pain into purpose. Losing that job had felt like the end of everything, but it was really the beginning of something greater. And whenever he met someone struggling or feeling unfairly treated, he would tell them, "Sometimes what looks like a setback is just a test. Don't stop being good because the world isn't kind. The right people are watching even when you think no one sees." The months passed quickly and life had settled into a steady rhythm. The waiter was doing well at his new job. Every day he felt grateful for the opportunity that had been given to him. The memory of being fired still stung sometimes, but it no longer controlled him. It was part of his story, a reminder of where he came from. He had become a familiar and respected face at the company. His co-workers often came to him for advice, not just about work, but about life. He had a calm way of listening that made people feel understood. When someone was having a bad day, he always knew how to say something kind that made them feel better. One afternoon, his manager asked him to stay back after a meeting. "You're doing a great job," she said. "I can see how people respond to you. You've got something special, a way with people. Don't ever lose that." He smiled, slightly embarrassed. "Thank you. I just try to treat others the way I wish to be treated." "That's rare these days," she said softly. As he walked home that day, he thought about how strange life could be. Months ago, he had been standing outside that restaurant, humiliated and unsure of his future. Now, he was being praised for the same qualities that had once cost him his job: honesty and kindness. It made him believe that life really did have its own timing. But even with all the good things happening, a small part of him still struggled with self-doubt. Sometimes late at night he would lie awake wondering, why me? Why had Elon Musk chosen to help him out of all the people in the world? He wasn't anyone special. He didn't have a college degree or big dreams of fame. He just wanted to make a living and take care of his mother. One weekend while visiting her, he shared those thoughts. She listened quietly and then said, "Maybe he saw something in you that others didn't. Sometimes the world tests the kind ones the hardest. Not to break them, but to prove their strength." Her words stayed with him. The following week, he got an email from Musk's office asking if he could attend a small company event. It wasn't a fancy gathering, just an internal celebration of employees who had made a difference in their roles. He felt nervous but honored to be invited. The event was held at a large hall decorated with lights and simple banners. People laughed, shared food, and took photos. He felt out of place at first, surrounded by so many professionals, but Musk spotted him and walked over with a friendly smile. "Glad you came," Musk said, shaking his hand. "Thank you for inviting me." "Sir," he said politely. "You've been doing good work," Musk said. "I've heard your name mentioned quite a few times lately, always in a positive way." He smiled shyly. "I'm just doing my best." Musk looked at him for a moment, then said, "That's exactly why people respect you." During the event, a short video played showing different employee stories, people who had gone through challenges and overcome them. To his surprise, the last clip was about him. It showed a short, respectful summary of how he had been fired unfairly, and how Musk had later given him a chance. The video ended with the words, "Sometimes the smallest act of honesty can lead to the biggest change." As the audience applauded, he felt his throat tighten. He didn't expect that kind of attention. He had lived quietly all his life, never wanting to be in the spotlight. But in that moment, surrounded by people clapping for him, he felt something shift inside. A quiet pride. After the event, several employees came up to him. Some shook his hand. Others simply said, "You inspire me." One woman even said, "My husband's a waiter. Your story gives him hope." He didn't know what to say, so he just smiled and thanked them. That night, as he walked to his car, Musk stopped him one last time. "You handled that well," he said. "I know it's not easy being recognized like that, but stories like yours matter. People need to see that doing the right thing is still worth it." He nodded slowly. "I understand now. Thank you for believing in me." Musk gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Keep going. I think your story's just beginning." Over the next few months, he started to get invitations from schools and community centers, asking him to share his story. At first, he didn't know how to respond. He wasn't a public speaker. He didn't think anyone would care about what he had to say. But when Musk's assistant told him that he could make a real difference, he decided to give it a try. The first event he attended was small, just a classroom full of students. His palms were sweaty and his voice trembled a little at first, but when he looked at the young faces listening to him, he relaxed. He told them about working long hours, about how one small misunderstanding had almost destroyed his career, and about how one person's kindness had changed everything. When he finished, the students clapped. One girl stood up and said, "You make me believe that good people still exist." Her words hit him deeply. That day he realized something important. His story wasn't about loss or luck anymore. It was about hope. Soon more invitations came in. He spoke at small gatherings, podcasts, and charity events. He didn't do it for fame or money. He did it because every time he shared his story, someone would come up afterward and say, "I needed to hear that." He often ended his talks with the same words. Never stop being kind even when it costs you something. The right people are watching even if you don't see them yet. Meanwhile, his job continued to go well. He was promoted again, this time to a role that allowed him to mentor new employees. He loved helping others learn and grow. Whenever a new worker seemed nervous or unsure, he'd smile and say, "I used to be just like you. Don't worry, you'll find your way." He started saving more money too and began planning to move his mother into a better apartment. She had sacrificed so much for him over the years, and now he wanted to give her the comfort she deserved. One evening, while packing up his things after work, he received a call from Musk's office again. The assistant said, "Mr. Musk would like to see you next week. He has something new he wants to discuss with you." His heart skipped a beat. Every meeting with Musk seemed to bring a new surprise, a new chapter. From being fired and humiliated to working at one of the most respected companies in the world, but he also felt nervous. What could this new meeting be about? Was it something big again? Or maybe just a friendly check-in? When the day finally came, he put on his best suit and arrived early. He sat quietly in the waiting area, his hands folded, his heart racing a little. When Musk entered the room, he greeted him warmly as always. "Good to see you again," Musk said. "Good to see you too, sir," he replied, smiling. Musk leaned back in his chair and said, "You've come a long way. But I think it's time to talk about something bigger." The waiter looked curious. "Bigger?" "Yes," Musk said. "I've been thinking about ways to make a real difference, not just for one person, but for many. And I think you might be the key to that." The waiter's eyebrows lifted slightly. He didn't know what to say. Musk continued, "We'll talk more about it soon, but let's just say it has to do with helping people like you. Honest workers who deserve better chances." The waiter nodded slowly, feeling both humbled and overwhelmed. He didn't know exactly what was coming, but something inside told him that his journey was about to take another turn. As he left the office that day, he walked through the city streets with a quiet smile. Life had been full of ups and downs, but somehow, every setback had led him somewhere better. He thought about all the people who had supported him, his mother, his co-workers, even strangers online who had believed in his story. He felt grateful for all of it. The world could be harsh, but it could also be full of unexpected kindness. And sometimes that kindness could change a life forever. As he reached home, he looked up at the night sky and whispered softly, "Thank you." He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of it. Because now he believed that when you live with honesty and heart, life always finds a way to surprise you, just when you least expect it. Months had passed since that unforgettable meeting that had changed his life forever. Life looked different, now not because of money or fame, but because of peace. Every morning he woke up with purpose, knowing that he was part of something meaningful. He had gone from worrying about every dollar to helping others, and that change gave him a deep kind of happiness that money couldn't buy. He was now a respected member of the company, leading a small team that helped customers solve problems. He didn't see himself as anyone special, just someone trying to do his best every day. Yet people admired him. They said he had a calm way of talking that made them feel heard. That was something he had learned during those long nights waiting tables. Listening, smiling, understanding. Even now, when he passed a restaurant or saw a waiter balancing plates, he felt a quiet connection. He knew their struggles. The long hours, the fake smiles, the aching feet, and the silent hopes that someone would see their effort. One afternoon, while he was finishing up some reports, he got a message from the company's HR department. It was short and simple. "Mr. Musk would like to see you in his office this Friday. Are you available?" His heart skipped a beat. He hadn't seen Musk in person for a while. They'd exchanged a few emails and short messages, but the idea of being called to his office still made him nervous. He replied immediately, "Yes, I'll be there." The rest of the week moved slowly. He couldn't help but wonder what the meeting was about. Was something wrong? Or maybe it was about work performance? He tried not to overthink, but it was hard not to. Friday came quickly. He dressed neatly and arrived early. The same assistant greeted him with a smile, just like before. "He'll be with you soon," she said kindly. When Musk finally entered, he looked as friendly as ever. "Good to see you again," he said, shaking his hand. "You too, sir," the waiter replied softly. They sat down and Musk began, "I've been following your progress here. Everyone speaks highly of you. I knew you'd fit right in." "Thank you, sir," he said, feeling a wave of relief. Musk leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "I wanted to talk to you about something important. You know, your story has reached millions of people. I've seen messages from people saying it gave them hope, made them believe that good things can happen to honest people, and I think there's something powerful in that." The waiter listened quietly, unsure where this was going. Musk continued, "I want to help you share that message in a bigger way. I'm starting a small foundation to support workers in service. Jobs, waiters, drivers, cleaners, people who often go unnoticed. I'd like you to be part of it. The waiter blinked in surprise. Me, sir? Yes, you, Musk said with a smile. You've lived that life. You understand their challenges. You can help us figure out the right ways to reach them. Scholarships, emergency funds, training programs. I can provide the resources, but I need someone who understands what it feels like. For a moment he couldn't speak. His eyes glistened with emotion. I don't even know what to say, sir. I'd be honored. Truly. Musk smiled. I had a feeling you'd say that. They discussed a few details, but what touched him most wasn't the offer itself. It was the trust behind it. Someone as powerful as Elon Musk had seen value in his kindness and wanted him to help others. That thought filled his heart with warmth. When he got home that evening, he called his mother right away. She listened quietly as he told her about the foundation, and when he finished, she said, "This is what your story was meant for. It wasn't just about getting your job back. It was about helping others find their way too." He felt tears prick his eyes. You're right, Mom. Maybe all that pain had a purpose. In the months that followed, the foundation took shape. He worked closely with a small team to design programs that supported people in low-income service jobs. They provided emergency funds for workers unfairly dismissed, offered free career training, and even helped some start small businesses. Every time he met someone who reminded him of his past self, tired, hopeful, and struggling, he made sure to look them in the eyes and say, "Don't give up. You never know who's watching." One story in particular stayed with him. A young waitress from Texas had written to the foundation saying she was fired after returning a lost wallet. She hadn't stolen it. She had tried to help. Her message ended with, "I guess honesty doesn't matter anymore." He personally reached out to her, told her that it does matter, and shared a bit of his story. A few months later, she wrote again to say she had found a new job, a better one, and that she'd started volunteering with the foundation to help others. Moments like that reminded him why he kept doing this work. Every story was a reflection of his own journey, proof that no act of kindness is ever wasted. As the foundation grew, he began to travel, meeting workers from different cities. In every conversation, he saw the same spark. People who wanted to do good even when the world wasn't fair to them. During one of the interviews, a journalist asked him, "Do you ever think about the night you got fired? Do you regret anything?" He smiled gently. "No. It hurt. But I learned that sometimes losing something unfairly is just life's way of making room for something better." If that night hadn't happened, none of this would exist. The journalist nodded, visibly moved. "So you don't hold any anger?" He shook his head. "I don't. Anger keeps you stuck in the past. Forgiveness moves you forward. Besides, that experience gave me purpose." Later that evening, as he sat alone in his hotel room, he thought about how far he had come. From a small apartment filled with worry to traveling across the country, helping people find hope again. He took out an old photo of himself and his mother from years ago. They were smiling, holding a cheap bouquet of flowers he'd bought after getting his first job. He smiled softly at the memory. Back then, he never could have imagined where life would take him. Weeks later, he returned home and stopped by the restaurant where it all began. The place looked the same warm lights, same smell of garlic and butter in the air. He stood outside for a while, just watching through the window. A new waiter was serving tables, moving carefully between guests. He smiled, remembering his own days there. He thought about going inside, maybe even saying hello, but decided against it. He didn't need to. That chapter was closed. As he turned to leave, he noticed something taped near the entrance, a printed newspaper clipping with the headline, "Fired Waiter Who Got a Second Chance Inspires Millions." Someone had circled the headline with a red marker and written below it in small letters, "We're proud of you." He felt a lump in his throat. For the first time, he realized that even the place that had hurt him once now honored his story. Life really did come full circle. When he got home that night, he sat by the window with a cup of tea looking out at the city lights. His phone buzzed with a message from the foundation team. They had just helped another family get back on their feet. He smiled to himself, feeling at peace. He remembered his mother's words. When you walk in truth, blessings find you. She had been right all along. The world could be unfair, but it could also be kind. And sometimes, the smallest good deed, a smile, a kind word, a returned wallet, or an act of honesty, could ripple farther than anyone could imagine. As he sat there that night, he whispered quietly, "Thank you." Not to anyone in particular, just to life itself.